Welcome back to Floss Law. I've been getting a lot of great feedback on these video guys, so if you want me to keep going with them, please comment, like them, follow me on Facebook, follow me on YouTube. The more support I get, the more I know you're all getting a lot of value out of this, so please let me know. I got a lot of great feedback out of the last video. Today I want to cover real quick bankruptcy in real estate. This is something that I've spent a tremendous amount of my career on. So this is something that I've done personally many times on many deals. So we're gonna cover bankruptcy and real estate, not from the aspect of you if you're a homeowner and you think you need to file bankruptcy. This isn't quite geared to you, although you might find it of some value. This is more geared toward the investor. So if you're looking for properties, if you're a buyer, an agent, anything like that, if you're looking at properties you might want to flip, rehab, do whatever, or long-term hold, what do you do when you see that there's a bankruptcy on that piece of property? Or if you know someone that's in bankruptcy, how can you help them with their real estate? So there's three main areas of bankruptcy. You have Chapter 7, 13, and 11. I'm just going to gloss over 11 because it's not really going to affect that many of you. 11 is really the corporate level of bankruptcy. So when you have a huge company like when Sears or Toys R Us declares bankruptcy, that's a Chapter 11. They're very intense. They take years to complete, as opposed to the other two areas of bankruptcy where you have more kind of form documents. The Chapter 11, you're really doing it from scratch. It's very labor intensive for the attorneys involved with it, and that's why it can drag on for several years, and it's very complicated. For the purpose of real estate, unless you're looking at like a warehouse, something like that, you're probably not going to worry about Chapter 11 real estate, or bankruptcy in real estate. So we're going to just skip over that. You're going to be looking at 7 and 13. Chapter 7 is when the person who is filing bankruptcy is essentially discharging all of their debt and walking away. You're just saying, I can't pay anything, I don't have any money, I just need to be able to have a clean slate and walk away and start over. And the bankruptcy court reviews that, sees if the person can qualify for that. If they do, then they pretty much eliminate all of their debt and let them just walk away with a clean slate. Obviously, it messes up your credit, but usually it's people who are in a really difficult spot and just need to be able to start over with a clean slate rather than be buried under debt. The Chapter 13 is someone who files bankruptcy and says, listen, I have way too much debt. I have the ability to pay it, but I got behind and I need to work out a payment structure where we reduce some of my debt, work out a payment plan, and I can get caught up. So those are the two main type of bankruptcies you're going to be dealing with. When you're dealing with a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, there is some confusion with the treatment of the real estate, and this is where you can benefit greatly, you as the investor, because of some of the confusion. So when I'm working with someone who's filing a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you're generally checking, it's kind of form documents, so you're kind of checking boxes in the software that you use. You're checking all the boxes, and you're essentially saying that, I want to be released from all my credit card debt, my medical debt, my car loan, and then you're also want to be released from the mortgage debt that you have. And by doing so, the paperwork sometimes we'll classify it as you're surrendering the property. So you're telling the bank, listen, I can't pay your mortgage. I need the bankruptcy court to discharge me, to release me from this mortgage debt, and I'm surrendering the property. The problem with that is sometimes there's some confusion where people think, oh, well, I've surrendered the property, so it's not mine anymore. Bankruptcy court is a federal court. Foreclosures have to be done in state court. So if you go into federal court and you say you're surrendering the property, that all that's doing is releasing you from the debt. It doesn't do anything for the actual physical property. So until the foreclosure is completed in state court, the person still owns the property. So they're no longer personally liable for any of the debt but they still technically are the owner of the house. So that person can still, if for some reason somehow they have equity, which if they're filing 7, they don't, but if somehow there's a situation where they can maybe sell the house and break even on it, you can pay the debt off for the person and take ownership of the property. You could still do that, or you can still try to do a short sale on it. I can tell you from experience, generally the banks aren't excited to do a short sale with someone who just filed a Chapter 7, but you can be done. You can definitely get them done. You just have to be persistent about it and really follow up on it and try to get the file completed. I will say, if you have filed a Chapter 7, or if the homeowner's filed a Chapter 7, it can be difficult to stall the process out. And by that I mean, if you're trying to stall the foreclosure process, which sometimes we do to give us time to get the short sale done, if they're no longer personally liable for the debt, then the court sometimes, depending on the judge, the court sometimes is not sympathetic to granting you time to get the short sale done, because if you've already discharged the debt, then what's the point? What's the benefit of it? So sometimes they'll frown upon you maybe trying to drag out the foreclosure so you can get the short sale done. So you just need to know that if the person has already filed a Chapter 7, if you're trying to get that short sale done, you want to get ahead of it pretty fast, so that you're not at the tail end. I know sometimes you get these leads at the tail end of the foreclosure process. That could be a little difficult if they've already done that 7. So now, if you're looking at the Chapter 13 client, or the Chapter 13 homeowner, what happens is the person comes in, we look at their debt, we say, okay, we can reduce your debt, we can reduce your credit card debt down to, I forget now because I haven't filed one in a long time. 40 cents on the dollar, 20 cents on the, I forget. So we can get the credit card debt reduced quite a bit. And then you're putting that in a payment plan. So generally the payment plan by default is going to be a 5-year payment plan. It's going to be 60 payments. And what you do is you take all of their, when you're doing a 13, the homeowner now has to become current. So they have to, from the point of filing, now has to start paying their mortgage, has to start, paying all their debts off. And then we take all of the back debt. So everything that they've all, owed. So the amount of the mortgage payments that they haven't made, including all the late payments, anything that the bank says is owed to them for, collection action and everything like that. If they missed a real estate tax bill, the real estate tax bill, all that gets lumped together, including, the credit card debt, all that kind of stuff gets lumped together, divided by 60, and that becomes their payment plan. So they have to make all of their current payments. They have to go back to paying the mortgage. They have to go back to paying their car loan. They have to go back to paying everything current. And now they have to make that additional payment for all of their debt that was owed. It can be very successful. It can work great for some people because sometimes people get bogged down by credit card debt. By slashing the credit card debt way down and putting them on the payment plan, they can get caught up. We did a tremendous amount of Chapter 13s when people were stuck in the foreclosure crisis to try to save their homes. Now, based on what I just described to you, you can see where it can become a bit problematic. So people get these plans approved with the intention of saving their home. They now have to pay the mortgage payment and now have to basically pay almost like an additional mortgage payment, because when you look at, maybe if they get 3, 4, or 5 months behind on their mortgage, plus the late payments, plus the attorney's fees that they throw on there, plus the, any other fees that the bank throws on there, plus the taxes, plus everything else, it can end up being a large amount of money. Not to say that, it's not successful. A lot of people I've seen have successfully made that payment plan work. But some people get into that payment plan, get involved with it, and realize that this is a bit of an uphill battle to try to make all of this work, to take their budget and pay all of this debt off. So people who are in a Chapter 13 bankruptcy can still be a good qualification for you to try to approach them and say, listen, is there something we could do to work out on your property, whether it be short sale, buying the property outright to pay off the mortgage, whatever you can do for them. Because sometimes it can be difficult. It can be difficult for them to keep up with that payment. The intention always is for them to do that. But it unfortunately doesn't always happen because they don't realize until they get into the process how much that the bank is lumping on. They think, well, I missed some payments and there's $5,000. And by the time you get all done with, all the stuff that the bank throws on there, it could be 15, 20. I've seen it, 50 grand where, you're trying to work out those payments on that. And the homeowner's just thinking, well, they get about maybe 3 months in and go, I can't do this. This is too much. So that's a good thing to know. Other thing to know is when you're dealing with those Chapter 13 clients, that the case, so when you get done with the Chapter 7, you're just discharging it, you're done, you're walking away, the case is closed. When you have that 13, during that 60-month payment plan, that case stays open. So you get the plan confirmed, you get everything completed with the Chapter 13, but then that whole 5-year period, that Chapter 13 bankruptcy stays open until they make that last payment, and then it gets closed out. So if you're looking at someone who does have a Chapter 13, please keep in mind that at some point during the process, you need to get the bankruptcy court to approve the fact that you're going to sell that property, or the homeowner is going to sell that property. It's a pretty routine motion, but you do have to notice it up, so you need to have time. It's not something we can go in a couple days before. You need the client needs to go to their bankruptcy attorney, let them know that that motion needs to be filed, and give them at least a month to be able to put the motion together, file it, give everyone proper notice. Generally, no one objects to them, so it's usually not a problem. It's just a problem in the sense that if you're running into the closing table and you realize you forgot that, well, now you have a problem because you can't clear that off title, and you have to be able to go before the bankruptcy judge to get that order signed off on. So just keep that in mind too. It's just the little things you need to do to make sure that you have a smooth closing process, and you don't realize you're forgetting these important legal documents you need to produce to the title company so that they can issue you a clear title at the closing. That's kind of it for right now. I'm looking at my notes here. That's kind of everything you need to know for bankruptcy. Obviously, there's a lot more to cover. We didn't even get to like cram downs or anything like that, but that's for bigger properties, for investors and stuff like that. You don't need to worry about that. For the purposes of this video, if you want to know more, please comment below. Reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions about that. But that kind of gives you a little snapshot of looking at bankruptcy in real estate. Have a good one.